The hallowed Vermont tradition of open meetings in a public physical space where local residents can ask questions and transparency rules has had to be adjusted somewhat. The COVID-19 emergency has upended many long established routines and procedures, and one of them is the way local town government boards, like select boards or school boards, hold their meetings. With social distancing guidelines in place while the coronavirus is still not fully under control, many boards are opting to go online to digital meeting platforms, and we showed you an example of that in an earlier show where the Select Board of Weston held their meeting online. Other town boards are going in the same direction. But this raises questions, in part because of security concerns and also the varying degrees of internet connectivity and computer skills across the state's population, about whether the same transparency is obtained online as was, and hopefully will soon again, in the traditional meeting in a physical location. So we had a chance to talk with Vermont's Secretary of State, Jim Condos, who follows all of this more closely than probably anyone else in Vermont. Secretary Condos also had some interesting observations about voting in the Corona era you'll want to hear towards the end of this discussion. Vermont's state primary isn't until August 11th, but there are other deadlines coming sooner than that, which are already forcing some thinking about how the state will handle its voting procedures this year. Have a listen.
So I think, well, first of all, we all have to recognize that we're in a different time right now, a different situation. We have obviously this coronavirus, which is impacting everything we do in our lives. But I think we also have to recognize that according to the Vermont Constitution, the public has a right to know, to attend, and participate. And it really is about transparency, which is enshrined in that Constitution. It's also about the ability of the public being able to hold our government accountable for the decisions and actions that it makes. One of the things, and you probably have heard me say it over the years, I have great faith in the media. I think that the media has to be considered part of the public, and that we have to recognize that the media is the watchdog for the public. So it's important that the media has access, but it's also important for our citizens to have access. And again, as I said before, there must be an opportunity for the public to participate, not just to attend. So I guess to sum it all up, what I would say in that regard is, before I actually get into the actual question you just asked me, what we really need to do, and we should be doing this before the COVID-19 and even after, and that is operating our select boards, our school boards, our government agencies, as if we have 625,000 Vermonters looking over our shoulder. To me, that's the ultimate transparency, is to think that someone's there watching me to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Now, having said all that, I think that it's important to recognize essentially what the legislature did, and we urged them, we worked with the legislature, with VLCT, to kind of come up with what are some of the changes that need to be made. And essentially we said, don't do a wholesale change of the law. Keep as much of the law in place as it is. It is really, it's really important to understand that the law is pretty well set up to begin with. So there are 4 points, I think, that the law actually addressed in the changes. One was the physical location requirement was temporarily waived. What do I mean by that? So there was always in the law an ability or opportunity for the government agency, for the government select board or whatever, to actually hold their meeting remotely. But there was a requirement, and that requirement was there had to be a physical location that where the public could attend if they didn't have access technologically. So there had to be a physical location, but there also had to be, whether it was a member of the board or a designee, to be there at that location to ensure that the connection was good, that people had the ability to hear, be heard, and also participate. So that was one thing that was waived, but then they said that, you know, what also had to happen was that there had to be public participation and advance notice required, so that you had to actually place it in your agendas where how the public can attach, if you want to call it, to this technology to be able to operate it. Let's keep in mind, Andrew, that the not all Vermonters have access to a computer. Not all Vermonters have access to a phone. Not all Vermonters have access to any of that technology that's necessary if you're operating remotely. So there were some provisions that were put in place. For instance, the legislature said that there should be, at the very minimum, a telephone conference call set up so that any member of the public that doesn't have a computer could access the meeting. That was one. Two, if you were operating by computer, by Zoom or Skype or whatever, that the public had to be able to connect, and that there should be a recording of whatever the meeting was. And originally, the part about recording that meeting was a little off because there was some concern that it was adding too much of a burden to the towns. Well, as you know, you just flip the record button on this Zoom meeting, so you're recording it. You can do the same whether you're using O365, Office 365, Microsoft's version of Teams. You can do the same, and at the very least, you can put a cell phone with the recording module up so that it records any conversation that's going on. Why did that happen? Well, it was interesting. We were having this discussion in the House Government Operations Committee, and the Ledge Council, talking about the open meeting law, was operating remotely, and his connection started to go in and out, and his voice was very garbled, and while he's testifying before the committee. And then we lost him. He just disappeared. And at that point, the legislature decided, oh, this is what we're talking about when we say that there might not be a good connection. And you know as well as I do, down in your area, the connection, the broadband access and the internet access is not all that great. Cell phone coverage is not all that great. There are lots of places that are dead. So it does cause a problem, and that's why recording is important. And the last thing that they did was to say, okay, the current law says that you must post your minutes within 5 days of the meeting occurring. And they granted a bit of a waiver. They said you could take up to 10 days if necessary because you're short-staffed or just not capable of getting it out in time. And all of this that I just described all only takes place while the COVID-19 emergency is in place. So I know that was a long answer, but
no, that's great. You answered about 3 of my questions, I think, and which is good. I guess I just was wondering what you thought might be the future potential of Zoom or Skype or remote meetings, or on some kind of online aspect to it. Post COVID-19, once we finally get back to whatever normal was before this. Do you see the potential maybe for incorporating some of this experience and technology into, sort of a regular select board or school board meeting at this time next year, when hopefully we are indeed back to normal? Or I was thinking even like town meetings. Might be a way. I mean, down here, there's every March we always gnash our teeth about the fact that not enough people go to town meetings, and it's like a tiny fraction of the voting checklist that shows up. I found myself wondering if it were possible, if the technology was there and the broadband capability robust enough, uh, might this be a way to allow people to attend town meeting from their living room and maybe even vote at the same time?
Well, I'll never say never, but I will say that, as you know, technology. Just think how long you've been in the newspaper business and how much technology has changed over the years. I remember when I was the chair of Senate Government Operations, and we were discussing about uh, in the area of public records about emails, and someone wanted to put the word email into statute. And I remember I said, well, how do we know that this is back around 2005? And I says, 10 years from now, email might be passe. It might be old school. And, we don't know what the next technology is going to be. So we actually changed the words. Instead of email, we put in electronic messaging. And thank God we did, because you have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now Zoom, all these different mediums that are capable out there that didn't exist in 2005. So, technology changes literally every day, and even Zoom will get better as we go, or, the Office 365 Teams, all these different things, Skype, they're all better than they were 5 years ago, and they will get better than the next 5 years. So I'll never say never. I think there will be a place for technology. I'm not convinced yet that voting via technology, using technology, is there yet. The security, you may have heard that there was a problem with the security at the State House. One of the meetings was, I don't know if it was hijacked or whatever, but they had
Zoom
some
bombed,
unwanted technology that showed up.
Yeah, I heard about that. Well, so that leads me to, I guess, my last question here is just how do we manage the security? I mean, I guess that's a sort of a technological question that people who are far better versed in that area than I am might have some answers for. I see that Zoom has put in a security patch of some sort, or a password provision now. You have to actually have the password to kind of log in and what have you. But I guess that really is a problem that would need to be solved before we get to widespread use of this going down the road.
Yeah, I think, Andrew, it's going to be interesting to see how this all evolves over time. But towns actually currently have the right to make changes within the law, and I think it'll be those changes that may come to us at the legislative level, not me personally, but that I'll be involved in those discussions. I think it's really it's a fascinating time to be in government. I think there is so much that's occurring so fast. As you know, public records, just the whole idea of records. I look at my own website. When I first took office, we had a very difficult time in posting things on our website. And now we have completely new website. We've actually redid it recently again, and it's so much easier. And we have more information is posted on our website at the Secretary of State's office today than there was yesterday or the day before. And our goal is to make sure that the public has access to the information that we have. And I would hope the government in general would do that. And I think as each, how do I want to put it? As each level of technology comes in, for instance, we've completely redone all the technology in the Secretary of State's office. And because of that, when we had to go to this stay-at-home concept, we were able to continue providing services to Vermonters through our website, through the phone lines, whatever, because we had the technology already in place. And as I'm sure you're well aware, many of the government agencies have very old and antiquated technology systems. Uh, one of the popular words is legacy systems that were, in some cases, homegrown. They were built in house, and now we have so much better technology, and we're constantly trying to improve upon it, and that just helps for public's access to those records. It helps the public's access to its government.
Just had one final thought to run by you. I'm sure you're aware today, the state of Wisconsin is holding its state primary. This is kind of a little bit off the main track of this, but I was just curious. And of course, as you know, there was a lot of controversy about whether or not they should be delaying that primary. The governor, I believe, wanted to delay it until at least they were out of a state of emergency, and the state legislature and I guess their state Supreme Court said, no, we're going to go ahead with it anyway. I mean, hopefully by August, when Vermont is holding its state primary, we're going to be kind of, not staying at home and sheltering in place and social distancing and all of that anymore. But I mean, what are the implications for holding elections that this whole situation presents itself? It must be a pretty tough question. One answer would seem to be, well, you really need to make it easier for people to mail in ballots, I guess. Is that one workaround, or?
That is, and I guess my first comment I would say to you is fasten your seatbelt and hold on, because things are going to change and change quickly. What's happening in Wisconsin today, I think, is a real shame. If you were to go, after you get off this Zoom call with me, go to the Wisconsin Supreme Court website. There's a red banner at the very top of the website that says the Wisconsin Supreme Court is closed until further notice because we're trying to protect our workers and the public from coronavirus. One of the very first stories or items below that on that page is the elections are going forward. And if you were to see, I don't know if you've looked at any of the news reports today, but I was listening to some of the national news. There are long lines, and those lines are getting longer every minute of the day in Wisconsin. And almost everybody has got a face mask on. They're maintaining some semblance of social distance. Apparently, they're wiping down poll booths and pens and whatever as people leave. So it creates a real logistical nightmare. So I think it is a shame that what's good for the court is not necessarily good for its people. But in any case, having said that, I will say that we will be working tightly with the governor. We now have language that was approved in the same bill that this open meeting law language was, that gives the power to the authority to me to make changes to election law as long as I've consulted with and received the agreement of the governor so that we can go forward. And one of the things we will be looking at is whether we go to a vote by mail. Now, I have to explain, though, the difference between vote by mail and what we have currently, because we have currently a hybrid system where, Andrew McKeever can contact his town clerk by phone, email, whatever, online, and say, I would like you to mail my ballot to me at my home. And the clerk will mail that ballot to you, and you can fill it out and mail it back. So we already have some form of vote by mail. But when you hear the words vote by mail, what most people are saying, or what they're meaning, is that the state and the town clerks would send a ballot to each and every registered voter on their list. So we would, without request. so that we would send those ballots out and get those back. There are already 5 states that do that totally. I know 4 of them, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and Utah. And there is a 5th one, I don't remember which one, but several states are like us. We're kind of hybrids. For us, there's still a lot of logistics involved, and there's a lot of cost. Now, the good news is that Senator Leahy was successful as a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee in getting $400 million sent out for the states. Vermont's share will be $3 million, and it's destined for coronavirus response. So anything we do, because we will have a huge increase in postage, we'll have large increases in printing of ballots, of printing of envelopes, if we were to go to a vote by mail system. But it's something we have to consider, and frankly, we have to consider it in the next couple of weeks. We have to decide because, for instance, yes, our primary is August 11th, but the early vote period starts 45 days before that, and that is June 19th. So we have to have the ballots either in the hands of the clerks or have them ready to send them out by June 19th, which means that you have to back it up from there. The candidate deadline is May 28th, so it only gives us about 3 weeks to get the ballots printed, create the ballots, print them, and deliver them to the town clerks. So we don't have a lot of time in front of us.
Wow, that's a tight window, to put it mildly.
There's a lot of work involved.
Well, Secretary Condos, thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate it. And good luck.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and please, to all your viewers, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.
For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.